The following transmission is an utterly nonsense podcast exclusive presentation. Cue that motherfucking 8-bit intro.
Actually, no.
Well,
it
it's
won't
a
even
continuation.
Be the this topic.
Yeah, I mean, the big topic we're discussing today, and by the way, it's August 3rd. We're recording this. It's the Friday after this whole deal went through, so it's been about a week for us, probably a little bit longer for anyone who's listening. So Disney and Fox are essentially officially about to go through with this merger. Disney's shareholders officially approved the deal, meaning it's all but done.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's really the big piece of news here. Like, the fact is, prior to this point, people knew it was coming, but no one really expected it to... Well, I shouldn't say no one really expected it to go through, but, it's a reality now. That's the big news.
Yeah, I think maybe we thought it would have been further off than it actually was.
Yeah.
So, it was like a slight surprise, but not too much. But the thing that's newsworthy, because last time we talked about that Disney had actually acquired Fox, I think, that they had made the purchase. Now the actual purchase is approved, I guess, or the merger itself is approved, which is, I don't know, business is weird. They make a decision to buy something, but then they still have to have the people who are buying it approve it, and then all these international organizations have to approve it. Did you hear about that?
I don't know too much about the business angle of it. I'd imagine like there are shareholders from other countries who had stakes in both Disney and Fox. Like I can't imagine it was that clear cut, but yeah, I mean, if you know something about it, feel free to say your bit about it.
Well, yeah, I just saw something somewhere that said there's still like all of these, I don't know, trade organizations or something around the world that have to approve things like this. So it's not just a simple, we bought you, we own you. They have to go through this whole year, sometimes years-long process.
So you're talking more about like governmental agencies, like antitrust things, stuff like that. Yeah, that doesn't shock me, especially just given our current political climate. Not to get overly political with this, but very pro-business administration right now. Like, look, realistically, there's nothing that's going to stop monopolies from happening right now. Like, just Congress doesn't care, the presidency doesn't care, whatever.
Well, actually, I saw something recently where I think it was Sinclair, our favorite broadcast group, Sinclair.
Oh, yes.
Was trying to buy out something, but they weren't allowed to.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look deeper into that. Yeah, I'd actually be shocked because like people have been saying for a while now that Sinclair is probably going to monopolize like broadcast television. It owns just like a massive amount of local television stations, just an absurd amount of local television stations. To the point that it basically is a monopoly on local television. And I mean, what else can you say about Sinclair? Like John Oliver said it best,
Everything to be said about it has been pretty much said. Yeah,
just a ridiculously corrupt, ridiculously far-right organization that's perpetuating this really... they've basically made local news just pointless, more pointless than it was before.
They're just adding in like an element of national news to it, I guess.
Well, it's a lot of fear-mongering that we've seen from this whole administration.
Well, there's fear-mongering on every side.
Yeah, it's true. But I don't know. The whole xenophobic rhetoric of the whole thing is just so much more prominent during the Trump era. Again, not to get political, but at this point, it's pretty much undeniable that he has this tendency to stir up fears from the American people.
Again, that comes around on all sides.
Okay.
Because everybody wants you to get on their side. Right. They say, nope, don't listen to him. I know what's best. I know what's going on. Listen to me.
Okay, so moving on.
You should listen to us with what we're about to tell you. Before we get into Fox, there was a new trailer released that I was wondering about that it was missing from Comic-Con, and that's Venom.
Yeah. Okay, so full disclosure, Venom is not owned by Fox, much to John's surprise.
No, we were like saying, oh yeah, what are we going to talk about? Fox deal? Oh yeah, we could talk about Venom. Oh wait, that's Sony, isn't it? Ah, what the hell?
Yeah, so Venom, famously a Spider-Man villain. Like, honestly, one of my favorite Spider-Man comics of all time was like the introduction of Carnage. So just, you know, I've always liked the symbiote element. I've always loved that character. Trailer looks pretty damn cool. Like, I had some concerns with the first few, and admittedly the CGI in this does still look a little iffy, but I don't know. I'm on board for it. I'll see it.
Yeah, I will say I do have more faith in it with this trailer than the last one, because we actually see a lot of Venom stuff. We see a lot of symbiote action.
They said symbiote correctly.
Yeah, and I watched them with my brother. He said, oh, Venom looks a lot better than in Spider-Man 3, but I don't know. To me, the CG looks like on the same level.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. People are like raving about how cool Venom looks in this, but it looks more or less the same as like the Topher Grace Venom.
Except a lot huger.
And, you know, obviously there's not as much Spider-Man imagery. He didn't bond with Spider-Man first, so there's no,
That's emblem. One thing I noticed, right? Yeah. Did you notice that? I didn't see an emblem.
Yeah, no, I noticed that right away. Which it makes sense if you think about it. Like, the whole reason he has the emblem in the comics is because Spider-Man was the first host. He inherited those abilities from him. So, right. I mean, it makes sense, you know?
Yeah, here's what I think it'll be. Of course, I think Venom's most iconic look is his face. So, to me, it's all right if he doesn't have the emblem. What I think is he won't have it throughout the movie, but then at the end, he'll see something on the news or something like that, or maybe he'll go to the Daily Bugle and he'll see pictures of Spider-Man or video of Spider-Man, and he'll say, we want to be a hero. And then he'll just grow the symbol on his body, and that'll be like the last shot.
I don't know. I feel like they're going for this more anti-heroic version of Venom than they are a full-out villain. And, you know, there is obviously some of the darker imagery. There's the whole fact that he's willing to eat people.
Brains yummy.
But
he did eat people's brains in the comics. I think it was just always shown off panel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like they're not going to show anything too graphic in this one either. But
is it rated R or is it PG-13?
Yeah. No, full R.
Oh, really?
Yep.
You sure?
I'm like 90% sure. You can check me if you want to, but I'm pretty sure about this.
Venom rating. Why is this hard to find? What's wrong with me? Oh, wait, I just saw a thing. It said confirms R rating.
Yeah, there you go.
I saw it in passing. I'm on the page now, and now I don't see it. Well, what did it say on the listing there? Oh, no, that was something else. Never mind. It says there Zachary Quinto confirms R rating for Tarantino's Star Trek.
Yeah. I don't know.
What is this?
I'd be
Venom director discusses R rating.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I think it's not rated yet, but it
looks like it's going for a hard R. Like, at this point, I wouldn't be... Like, at this point, I'd be shocked if it didn't have an R rating, you know?
Yeah, all right, well, then I want to see some brains getting eaten. Yeah, but we do see other symbiotes, so probably Carnage, I guess, maybe Toxin and Agony and all those things.
Scream and all those. People are saying, like, Woody Harrelson is going to be Carnage. Like, people are saying he's Cletus Cassidy.
Woody Harrelson, eh?
Yeah, which could be cool. I mean, they've had some passing... like, I think he was barely in the trailers, but, like, you can see his face in passing. So, like it's already confirmed that he has a role in the thing, but no one really knows who he's playing, so that's sort of the popular guess. I mean, he's Woody Harrelson. I could easily see him playing that role, you know?
I remember back in the day, after Spider-Man 3 came out, I used to talk about what if there's a Spider-Man 4, and I always said, you know, they should put Carnage in Spider-Man 4. That would save it, and then make Jim Carrey Cletus Cassidy. I think he could pull it off. He has the freaky faces. Because he had played a psycho or something, and I think it was called The Number 23.
Who, Jim Carrey?
There's a movie called that. Yeah.
Yeah, don't think I've seen it, but okay.
Yeah, so he played Psycho before, so I don't know.
Yeah, he also played the Riddler.
I thought would be interesting.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you know, ideally, I think if they really wanted to make a Spider-Man 4, they should have like cut out Venom altogether from Spider-Man 3 and just made that into Spider-Man 4. Probably would have made a better movie.
That's what Sam Raimi wanted, but the studio said no, gotta have Venom.
Fucking Sony. Like every fucking time, can't they just make a decent Spider-Man movie after all this?
I don't know. I kind of also blame Sam Raimi because he said he didn't want to do the character because he wasn't familiar with it. He wanted to do Vulture instead. It's like, everyone wants to see Venom. Come on.
Yeah, we'll see Spider-Man.
Should have done his reading.
Because we'll see Spider-Man Homecoming. Because Vulture actually a really cool villain in it. Like, I mean, Michael Keaton, obviously great casting choice, but honestly, just one of the best MCU villains to date.
Yeah, but you can't beat Venom.
Yeah, that's true.
We are Venom.
Okay, so
Sony One trailer looks good.
So getting more to the actual Fox stuff.
Back to Fox.
So
I assume some of what we just spoke about will be cut out for time.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll anyway.
So the big thing I think that people have been wondering is what property specifically does Disney get as a result of this whole merger? So it's important to mention that this is 20th Century Fox specific. This is the entertainment wing of Fox. So Disney does not get Fox News or any of their non-entertainment properties, if that makes sense.
No sports, no news.
No sports or news, yeah. But, you know, they get The Simpsons and shit, so... But,
yeah. Which means I think they also get the Orville.
Oh, yeah. Could be cool.
Orville confirmed for Kingdom Hearts 4.
So the big thing that Disney does get, just in terms of Marvel stuff, and I think that's what everyone's thinking, like why they went for Fox, they're getting the X-Men, you know? And
of course, yeah.
So, this raises a few questions. I mean, first of all, like, what X-Men films are still gonna happen? Because people are saying New Mutants is going to be scrapped. Dark Phoenix is going to be scrapped, despite the fact that footage has already been released for New Mutants, despite the fact that Dark Phoenix was supposed to come out, like, I think, end of this year originally.
Yeah, well, the story with that is they're both still going to come out, despite being delayed, because those movies are practically done, I think. They went back for reshoots.
Yeah, but
they seem to do a lot these days.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they released the trailers as recently as they did, or the trailer for New Mutants as recently as they did, kind of does tell you that the movie was practically done at that point. Like, it was probably just in post-production at that point.
Yeah, and then, I don't know, I guess they realized they screwed up.
Yeah, which, honestly, New Mutants look cool as is. Like, I do like the whole concept of, like, horror in the X-Men universe, you know? And
it's like trying to take this thing. I don't know how serious it was in the original source material, but it kind of, when I watched the Titans trailer, just to draw it back to that real quick, I kind of was reminded of New Mutants, particularly with the Raven stuff. It just had a similar vibe, but New Mutants trailer looked better.
Yeah, and no, I'd have to agree with you there. I will say, I think the New Mutants was sort of like Fox's effort to keep the X universe going. I mean, realistically, they could have made another movie with that cast after Dark Phoenix, you know?
Yeah. There was something I had wanted to bring up when we talked about Deadpool, which was that I think whatever orphanage or school that kid was in, what was his name? Fire Fist or something?
Oh, Russell.
Yeah. Is that the thing that New Mutants is going to be about?
So I think loosely it's so the actual mansion in Deadpool 2, or not mansion, but the orphanage is it's the Essex House, which is sort of the it's owned by Mr. Sinister, who's like one of the X-Men big bads, who has not appeared on screen in any sense other than a mention. And I think the only other reference in the main X-Men continuity was like at the end of the Wolverine, he like gets a gift from the Essex Corporation.
Yeah, I remember that.
Honestly, I'm not even sure if that made it to the final cut or if that was a deleted scene. But
it was the after credits scene.
Okay, see, that's what I thought. So very minor detail for a villain that's like one of the most well-known among the X-Men villains. It honestly shocks me that we got an Apocalypse movie before a Mr. Sinister movie.
Yeah, pretty weird.
Yeah, so I guess the question that everyone's wondering, how are they going to seamlessly integrate the X-Men into the main MCU? Because, again, this is sort of new. Bob Iger, who's, of course, the CEO of Disney, has said that he does want there to be an integration. He does want the X-Men as part of the MCU.
Yeah, and
so how's that going to happen?
Well, I did see an idea somebody had where they said that they might go into the real obscure cosmic element of the Marvel Universe, where these, like, I think they were called Eternals. Correct me if I'm wrong. They were called Eternals, and there's these entities that were responsible for creating the life that's on Earth in all the different forms. There was, like, these really weird mutant monster things that eventually died out because they started enslaving humanity. There were gods, which I guess turned out to be like the Greek gods and all the mythological shit. And then the humans, who showed no abnormalities, did have a latent active gene in their bodies, which started primarily activating during the 1960s, which was the explosion of mutants, and hence the X-Men and everything at that time. So they could explain it by saying, now that all this shit has been happening on Earth, when all these superheroes, these mutants are popping up all over the place. I think that they might do a little revisionist history and say that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were mutants, that their genes were just activated by whatever experiments Hydra was doing. So that could be one way.
Yeah, it's interesting. Honestly, I think the most practical way would be to go with the whole multiple universe idea. They sort of explored this in Doctor Strange a little bit. The concept that there actually is a multiverse, and that the MCU's universe is one universe in this grander whole scheme of things. So I think it would make sense to sort of keep the X-Men continuity intact, or say that the new X-Men movies and the old X-Men movies are two separate continuities, and Deadpool's just sort of, somewhere in between.
Yeah, so you think they're gonna not reboot X-Men again? You think they're just gonna cross them over?
Not a hard reboot, or at least I don't know. I don't think they'd be able to do much with the new cast. It gets tough. Like maybe they could do like a post X-Men 3, like after the timeline's been rebooted. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
So like newer generations, like don't recast but introduce new characters.
So the James McAvoy X-Men and not Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, well, sort of. Like, again, just in terms of the actual timeline, you got to keep in mind that that's decades before where the MCU takes place.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's a complicated thing to get into. I'm saying cast new people, but don't recast. Like don't get a new Cyclops. Get who's an obscure X-Men character that I can't think of. Get a Gambit.
Archangel.
Oh yeah. Why not?
He was part of the original X-Men, wasn't he? It was Archangel, Beast, Jean Grey, I think, and Cyclops.
Yeah, Jean Grey. Wolverine, of course.
No. Wolverine didn't come till later.
Well, I'm saying like the original trilogy, but
Oh no, I meant like the original X-Men team in the comics.
Yeah. Well, Cyclops was always the very front.
Yep.
Well, so the thing about Wolverine. A while ago, like well before the Fox-Disney merger was on the table, Hugh Jackman actually said that the only way he'd possibly consider going back to the role was if it was in the MCU. So, not sure if he's still up for that, but, be cool to see a Wolverine in the greater Marvel universe.
There was an April Fool's joke video where it was about that Hugh Jackman was spotted on the set of Avengers 4. And I watched it and I was like, no way. Sure enough, it was a joke at the end.
Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah, but I have a more pessimistic kind of view of it, if you want to call it that, which is I think they're going to pull a Spider-Man Homecoming and just recast, reboot.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, unless the casting is perfect, there's no recasting Wolverine,
Yeah. As far as Deadpool goes, I don't know if they'll keep Ryan Reynolds. I hope so, but they said that, or Bob Iger said they are open to doing R-rated Marvel movies, so they're not going to keep the PG-13 rule.
Well, look, when it comes down to it, Ryan Reynolds embodies that role. Deadpool is a passion project. He is Deadpool. He's honestly like the only guy who could play that role. He's so intertwined with the role. He's so intertwined with the role. It's impossible to see anyone else filling those shoes, especially after he hasn't been doing it that long. Like, the first Deadpool came out 2 years ago, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine they'd recast him. And, I don't know. I feel like he'd be up for it, you know? And it'd be easier to explain away Deadpool. Like, he could be very self-aware about the whole thing. He'd be making fun about the fact that they had to rush him in. I don't know. I'm not going to write a Marvel movie for them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, he does have that weird time teleporty thingy, so they could just explain it as that. Oh, he popped up in this universe now.
Oh yeah. Do you think you think XForce is still happening after this, or?
Have they even started filming it?
I have no idea. I think it's like wrapping up pre-production. I know they were saying that was going to be the next Deadpool appearance, so like, assuming they're working on it, it'd probably be coming out by 2020, the latest.
Yeah, well, I know what's his name? The CEO said they expect to have all of the transfers of all the properties and all that by April of next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think in order to maintain ownership or something, that Fox still has to work on projects for the time being. So I guess they'll go ahead and make X-Force. I don't see why not. But then the question is, if it comes out after all the transfer of properties is approved, who gets the money? I guess Disney does. But Fox invested in it. I don't know.
There's probably some. Well, they probably get some cut of the whole thing. Again, I don't know the finer points of the whole deal, but I imagine like Fox is going to get some money for the whole thing. You know, like the actual execs financing it.
And of course, they also get Fantastic Four.
Yeah, which
thankfully we don't have to see.
Fan-4-Stick 2.
Yes, well, that was already a done thing.
Fan-5-Stick.
Wasn't it? Oh my goodness.
No, it was honestly like, how does a superhero movie bomb in this climate? You know,
when you give it to a director who wants to make it a horror film, but then the studio steps in after they hear horrible things and say, no, you can't do this. And it just becomes a mess.
It might have, like, I know we've talked about this before, but it would have been cool if it was an actual horror film. But they didn't go that route, you know? Like, they went for a half-assed horror film and ended up making a shitty superhero film.
Why Fantastic Four for horror, though? Those are two things that don't mix. It's like oil and water. You just don't put them together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Fantastic Four has always been this very bright, goofy kind of property. You don't make it dark.
Yeah.
People argue that you can't make Superman dark. Oh, Superman's supposed to be bright and optimistic. So it's even more so for Fantastic Four that shouldn't even be a thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, the thing that really bugged me about Fan-4-Stick, I'm calling it Fan-4-Stick just to differentiate it, and I think people know what I'm talking about when I say that.
Yeah, it's a good shitty title for a shitty movie.
It is a great shitty title for a shitty movie. And aside from like just the terrible CGI, the one thing that really bugs me about Fan-4-Stick is the pacing of the whole thing. Like, for whatever reason, the first act seems to take up like 90% of the movie. Then, you know, you could argue the second act is them actually getting into the whole, I don't even know what you call that thing, teleporter. It's like that's the second act, and then the third act is them killing Doom in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just fucking lame.
Why can't we just get like normal Doctor Doom?
I know, right? Like, it's such a cool origin story too. You know, like he's this ruler of this like Eastern European country. I don't know. It just begs the question as to why they keep feeling the need to reinvent characters that there was nothing wrong with in the first place.
He's this guy who's obsessed with being the best. He has to be the best engineer and the best sorcerer. So he studies both. Becomes Iron Man and what's his name? Doctor Strange rolled into one. Slightly lesser of the two, but in some ways more powerful.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. No, it's an interesting character, and it just pisses me off that he never got justice.
Yeah.
And like even I don't know. I'm just so pissed off about this at this point that I really have nothing else positive to say about the whole thing. But I'm anxious to see what the MCU does with it, because realistically, I could see them being as like part of the whole '90s boom, like if they go that route at post Captain Marvel.
Well, here could be an idea. If they have another phase of movies that leads up to a big villain for another Avengers movie or big crossover, then what they should do is bring in Galactus and build up the Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer in the meantime. That could be a way to introduce them. Mm-hmm. Just say, there's new scientists that went into space and they got hit by cosmic, whatever. Now to the Fantastic Four,
cosmic
yada yada.
rays.
Just like skip the whole origin phase and just have it in like a newspaper montage or something like that, and just say, here they are, Fantastic Four. Now they're fighting Doctor Doom or the Mole Man or both or something.
Which, I think they're gonna have to go with. Actually, I don't know.
Have the opening scene fighting Mole Man, and then build up to Doom.
It'd be refreshing to see a different. Yeah, it'd be refreshing to see. Yeah, exactly. It'd be refreshing to see a new villain, but realistically, they have to do a good Doom at some point.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, they've been saying for a while now that the MCU should go in this more spacious direction, and they're very much a space element of the MCU. I could definitely see them doing something like that. Honestly, the weirdest thing about Infinity War for me was that how little of it was in space compared to like Infinity Gauntlet,
Yeah, Infinity Gauntlet, the whole fight was in space, and then
like 99% of the entire thing was, aside from like the initial impact of the snap,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Infinity War was great, and I'm actually going to rewatch it tomorrow now that the digital release is out. But
I think that's one fatal flaw, though, is the fact that he just eliminates everyone with a snap, whereas in the Infinity War comic, he actually killed them in creative ways because he could do anything. They all took him on at once, and he found all these strange ways. Like, for example, Cyclops, he locked his head in a reflective box, and when Cyclops tried to break out of it by using his beams, it just, of course, bounced off the walls of the box and blew up his head.
Mm-hmm.
You see, shit like that is just made sense. He's like, Infinity Gauntlet could do anything. Well, put some creativity, but in the movie, he's just, look at that. Like nothing.
I will say, the character of Adam Warlock in the comics does not do anything for me, but just the brief, like, sort of hint that we're getting him for Guardians 3 kind of got me pretty happy. I don't know what else to say about it. Like,
Guardians 3. The fate of it is up in the air still.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I really doubt that James Gunn is going to return to the franchise, just given the whole drama surrounding it. Despite the fact that the cast and pretty much the entire fan base supports him, it's, I don't know. It just seems like unlikely that Disney's going to change their mind about the whole thing.
Yeah. Just get Taika Waititi. What was his name? How do you pronounce it?
Taika Waititi.
Yeah. That's a backup plan.
So, yeah, I mean, that's who I'm hoping for. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised how quickly people jumped to that. Like, I was saying that, like, basically as soon as James Gunn got fired, I was saying Taika Waititi should do the next one. And it's not surprising to me that people sort of ran with that, but it's surprising to me that I was, like, one of the first people to say it, and I'm not getting any recognition for it.
Where's the recognition, man? We got some original, fresh ideas here.
I had that on Facebook literally an hour after James Gunn got fired. So,
so you like Facebook now, huh?
Meh. I'm still not as active with it as I am on any other social media site. Like, I use LinkedIn more than I use Facebook, so...
Quote you on Facebook in the beginning, I have no interest on advertising on a dying platform.
I think I said using a dying platform, not advertising on. But now I've got a pretty respectful following, and I'm moderately active on it.
Yeah. Well, you also now started being more active at a time where all their shares plummeted.
Yeah, seriously. Just found out the other day, actually, that my grandfather has stock in Facebook.
Did he lose money?
I really don't know, but I can imagine, like, I feel like he doesn't know what Facebook is, but someone told him to invest in it, so...
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's all I got to say about this whole thing. I think we covered all the main points here.
What else do they get besides Fantastic Four and X-Men? Was there any other things they had lying around?
Main franchises, Avatar, that whole thing, all of James Gunn's sequels that are probably never going to happen. Or not James Gunn, James Cameron's sequels that are probably never going to happen. Oh,
yeah, they get Alien and Predator.
Yeah, that whole thing. Which, just a quick sneak peek of the next episode we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Reboots. Fucking reboots.
The return of 80s sci-fi. Again. And again.
And again. And again.
Because they can't get the reboots to stick. It's just rebooting them over and over.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so without further ado, it has been about half an hour. I'm CJ DeLeo, joined as always alongside John Kaggs. This is the Utterly Nonsense Podcast, which can be found on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever else you get your podcasts. We're working to get it on Spotify, but just, Google us. I'm sure you can find us somewhere.
Stay tuned.
Without any further ado, 8-Bit Music, play us out.
Oh, yeah.